Good morning, Your Honor. Plaintiff intervenors call Mayor Jerry Sanders to the stand.
Who?
Mayor Jerry Sanders.
By the way, I read the deposition taken by one of your deputies, Mr. Flynn. I think he needs some counseling on proper objections in a deposition. I think you really need to review that deposition, Mr. Herrera, as the leader of your office, and do a little woodshedding of some of the lawyers.
Okay. We'll take a look at it, Your Honor.
All right.
Raise your right hand, please.
I do.
Please have a seat. State your name, please.
Jerry Sanders.
Let's take it from where Peter was going again. Let's just look the name Jerry Sanders.
Jerry Sanders.
And spell your last name.
S-A-N-D-E-R-S.
Your first name?
Jerry, J-E-R-R-Y.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Sanders.
Good morning.
You are currently the mayor of San Diego, is that correct?
I am.
And what political party are you affiliated with?
I'm a Republican.
How long have you been mayor, Mr. Sanders?
I've been mayor for 4 years.
And what term are you in?
I'm in my second term.
Prior to becoming mayor, did you have a career in public service?
Yes, I did.
And what was your first job in public services?
I went on the San Diego Police Department as a recruit in 1973.
And can you give us a brief description of the positions you held in the San Diego Police Department?
I can. I graduated from the Police Academy in August 1973. I became a patrol officer in the city of San Diego, working in many different areas and divisions of the city. I was promoted to agent in 1978, and then to sergeant in 1979, where I had a role in policing squads of officers in different parts of the city. Also some administrative assignments. Became a lieutenant in 1981, had a geographical area. I also had assignments as a SWAT commander, as a director of San Diego Police Academy. In 1986, I was promoted to captain, where I held 2 assignments, 2 geographical areas in the city of San Diego, where I was responsible for policing of about 160,000 people in each of those. I was promoted to commander in 1990, where I had overall command of half the city. Then I also served as the acting assistant chief in charge of internal affairs. I was promoted as assistant chief, where I had assignments in internal affairs and some administrative assistance. Then I was promoted to chief of police in 1993 and retired in 1999.
Between 1999, when you retired, and 2005, when you became mayor, did you have any other positions in public service?
Yes, I did. I was president and CEO of the San Diego County United Way, 1999 to about 2002. The United Way of San Diego took workplace donations and distributed those to a wide variety of health and human services throughout the San Diego region, making sure we funded priorities for children, adults, all sorts of different issues. I was then asked, after I left United Way, to reconstitute the American Red Cross Board in San Diego, which had been removed by the national chapter. I went on to become the chair of that board and served with the Red Cross for about 2 years prior to going on the national board of directors right before I ran for election.
Mayor Sanders, are you gay?
No, I'm not.
Are you married?
Yes, I am.
For how long have you been married?
I've been married for 16 years to my wife, Rana Simpson.
Do you have any children?
I do.
How many?
2. I have 2 daughters, Lisa, 26, and Jamie, 23.
Are your daughters from your marriage with Rana, or from a previous marriage?
They're from a previous marriage.
And you've only been married 2 times?
I've been married twice. First time was for 14 years.
Are Lisa and Jamie lesbian or straight?
Jamie's straight, Lisa's a lesbian.
What was your relationship like with Lisa when she was growing up?
Well, Lisa was my first daughter. We had a very strong relationship. Excuse me, she was basically my shadow. And I was very busy on the police department, obviously, with my career. I was a lieutenant when she was born, but every weekend we did yard work together when she could barely walk. So we go to Home Depot together. She probably knows more about Home Depot than most kids. We'd go to the dump together on my promise that I would buy her a donut if she would watch me remove all the trash from the truck. And we were pretty much inseparable over weekends until she went away to college. I actually had both daughters every weekend from the time I was divorced and until they went away to college.
And how did you first learn that Lisa was a lesbian?
Lisa called us, and try not to look at my daughter right now. Lisa called me in her sophomore year of college, said that she wanted to come home and talk to my wife and I, had something that she needed to discuss with us. And when I asked her what it was about, she said that she would prefer to wait until she got home. And when she came home, she sat down with us and told us that she was a lesbian and that she was in a lesbian relationship.
And what was your reaction?
Well, it was one where I felt overwhelming love. I realized how difficult this was for her. Realized how difficult it was to tell your parents that you're a lesbian. I told her that I felt very strongly that we loved her and more than she would ever know, and that we would be there for her to support her in every step of the way. But I also told her that I thought I had concerns and that I thought it would be very tough on gay people in society.
Were you upset at all?
No, no. I was very proud of her for coming and letting us know.
And when you say you were concerned, why were you concerned?
Well, I've been a police officer for 26 years. During that time, I've seen what happened to people who came out, who had either a gay or a lesbian relationship. I had, or go back to when I was a young police officer, I had a sergeant on the squad. This was in the early 70s. San Diego was very conservative at that time. He was a very good sergeant. He came to us and he told us he was gay. And it wasn't long after that. And I'd talked with several squad members. We still respected him tremendously, but it wasn't long after that that he left the police department, literally driven out. I'm sorry. I also, through the years, I've seen violence against gay community because, you know, simply because people were gay. We had a series of crimes that would occur in part of San Diego that had a lot of gay people there. The gay bashings, the robberies. We had a death occur in the early 90s that was part of a series. I'd seen a lot of that type of thing and heard slurs and heard comments that people make.
Mr. Mayor, when you first ran for mayor, did you take a position on the issue of marriage equality?
I did.
And what was your position?
Well, my position that I thought civil union was a fair alternative.
And why did you take that position?
Well, number one, to put it into context, I was running during a very difficult time in San Diego's history. We were being investigated by a range of federal authorities, by the SEC, by the U.S. Attorney, by the attorney, the district attorney. We were facing huge financial problems. I felt that in the context of the election campaign that the issues of gay marriage were not something that the city of San Diego or I could have an impact on. I also was a Republican and felt that civil unions was a fair alternative to marriage.
Did there come a time when you changed your position on the issue of marriage equality?
Yes.
And when was that?
Well, it was in September of 2007. The City of San Diego, the City Council, passed a resolution to file an amicus brief on behalf of the City of San Diego, supporting the City of San Francisco in a lawsuit. And that came to my desk, and I had to make a decision whether to veto or whether to sign the resolution. And
what was your decision?
Well, my decision was to sign the resolution.
Did you make a public announcement to explain the reason for your decision?
I did.
And was that announcement videotaped?
Yes, it was.
Is it your understanding that that videotape is widely available?
It was on YouTube. I received letters and emails from around the world talking about seeing this on YouTube.
Your Honor, at this point, I would like to play Plaintiff's Exhibit 186, which is a video recording of the announcement.
Very well.
I'd ask that Exhibit 186 be admitted into evidence, Your Honor.
No objection.
186 is admitted.
Mr. Mayor, you're obviously very emotional during that press conference. Can you tell us why?
Well, now that it's been established that I can cry in public, I was extremely emotional, obviously, because of the decision that I'd made. I was emotional because of the fact that I felt that I came very close to making a bad decision, one that would affect literally hundreds of thousands of people. I came very close to showing the prejudice that I obviously had to my daughter, to my staff, to the community in San Diego. And I think that what hit me when I started reflecting that night was that I'd been prejudiced. I was showing that prejudice in the position to veto that. I was saying that one group of people did not deserve the same dignity and respect, did not deserve the same symbolism about marriage. I was saying, in effect, that their marriages were less than. Were less than important than marriages to heterosexual couples. So, all of those things came into it.
Did your daughter, Lisa, talk you into signing the resolution?
No, quite the contrary.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Lisa worked on my campaign. Lisa was with me every step of the way, along with my wife and my other daughter. Lisa felt that the position on civil unions was one that she understood. It was one that she thought the community understood, and one that probably politically palpable to the base of support that I had. And she felt it was important that I be re-elected because I was a good mayor in her estimation, and that it was acceptable under those circumstances.
What convinced you to sign the resolution?
Well, as I said in the video, I struggled with this from the time I took the position on civil unions. The night before the press conference, though, I invited a group of individuals from the gay lesbian community, some from some of my neighbors, and some from some of my friends, some of them acquaintances. I wanted to give them the courtesy of telling them that I intended to veto the resolution.
And what did those individuals share with you?
Well, you know, I suppose what I expected was that they'd say civil unions are fine. I guess I was absolutely shocked at the depth of the hurt, the depth of the feeling, the depth of the comments that came from them. Now, I remember one of the neighbors who I've known for quite some time said basically that I walk by here, my partner and I walk by here all the time with our children, and you always stop. And when you're doing yard work, you say hello to them, you talk to them, you know, we're a family, just like you're a family. And one of our other neighbors said that she had children just like I did, They loved the children just as much as I did. They felt their children deserved parents also, and they deserved to have parents who were married. The depth of the feeling was unbelievable, the depth of the hurt. Also, I could see the harm that I had done by considering the veto.
Did any of these individuals threaten you with any political repercussions?
No. This wasn't a night about politics. This is literally a night where they showed the depth of their feelings and their hurt. I think that's one of the things that created part of the emotion the next day, as I realized how close I'd come to really closing the door on things they were unbelievably important to them and to a group of people.
As mayor, were there any other reasons why you decided to sign the resolution?
Well, I think it's in the interest of government. And I go back to being a police officer. I know how easy it is to discriminate against people when you hear discrimination or you hear slurs or you see unequal treatment by the leadership of the department. I felt very strongly that it was important to treat everybody equally in our community, policing, planning. We went to every community in San Diego, African American, Asian, Latino, gay, lesbian, and told them we wanted to police them like they wanted to be policed. And we wanted them to become part of that policing. I know it's also difficult if you're in a relationship and if you can't talk about it at work. You can't tell people that you have a partner. Or you can't tell people that you're married and you have children if you're gay or a lesbian. And all those things, I think, are important on the government side because, well, if government tolerates discrimination against anyone for any reason, it becomes an excuse for the public to do exactly the same thing. And I think that as I look back on San Diego being a fairly conservative place, very, very different than San Francisco, discrimination took the form of violence against the gay community. I don't think that's in the government's interest for the community. I don't think it's in the government's interest for governing itself.
Now, you testified that governmental discrimination could possibly foster private discrimination.
Well,
in your experience as a police officer, are hate crimes a form of private discrimination?
I think hate crimes are the most extreme form of discrimination. Hate crimes are perpetuated on people solely because of their skin color, or their religious beliefs, or their sexual orientation. And that's frequently, a hate crime is frequently part of the violence. It's violence simply because that person is not like somebody else. And I think that when a city, when leadership talks in disparaging terms about people or denies the rights that everybody else have, the fundamental rights, then I think some people in the community feel empowered to take action in hate crimes and in other ways.
And during the time that you were police chief, what was your experience with how the police department dealt with hate crimes in San Diego?
Well, I think our department, like a lot of departments, didn't like to admit that there were crimes, especially hate crimes. And we came a long way during that period of time where we created a hate crimes unit, or the district attorney did. But I have to tell you, in the early days, there were a lot of hate crimes. There were gay bashings, where young men would go out and get drunk and feel no problem at all with bashing people who they thought were gay people, whether they were or not. I can remember one circumstance where we had a series of robberies that culminated in the death of a young gay man simply because he was gay. And I can remember after 2006, after the Pride Parade, the Pride celebration, an individual who decided that he could take it upon himself to punish the entire community by bringing a baseball bat and literally beating one man almost to death and beating several others.
And that hate crime that you just referred to in 2006, that was during your term as mayor, correct?
Yes, it was.
Mr. Mayor, at the beginning of your public career, were you as sensitive to the concerns of the gay and lesbian community as you are now?
No, I wasn't.
How are you different?
Well, I can't say that I was different from a lot of people. I was a young cop in the early 70s. I participated in the slurs in the locker room and the lineups. I think that really turned my opinion when I saw the sergeant, excuse me, the sergeant who admitted he was gay. He was a good sergeant. He was a good police officer. Then felt the discrimination from the rest of the department that literally drove him out. I felt that I felt that fundamentally that was not right. So throughout my career on the police department, it was not easy to come out of the closet for gays and lesbians. People we knew were gay and lesbian would not come out of the closet. They felt their careers would be over. And they felt that they would be treated differently. My chief of staff came to me when I became chief of police and said, "There's something I need to tell you. And I don't know whether it's going to affect your decision on whether whether to have me or not, but I'm a lesbian." Now, I'm not going to come out of the closet because I don't think it's in my best interest, because people will see me only as a lesbian and not as your chief of staff. So I think it was very tough for people on the police department, as it is for the rest of society.
Mr. Mayor, earlier you said that the reason, one of the reasons at least, that you were so emotional at the press conference is that you felt like you had been prejudiced. And I just have to ask you, how can someone who has been as committed to equality for all people be prejudiced against anyone?
Well, I guess that really was a defining moment for me. I'd been on the national conference for, at the time, Christians and Jews for 10 years on the board of directors. Later became the National Conference for Community and Justice. I'd been the board chair for 2 years. I'd participated in diversity workshops, diversity weeks with high schools. I'd gone through all these issues. I'd participated in 2 rounds of diversity training with the city, 4-day workshops where we talked about all of these issues. And yet, the fact I still believed that civil unions were equal to marriage, I think really kind of shook me. Because I think that the decision I made on that were grounded in prejudice. Now, it didn't mean that I hated gay people. Didn't mean I didn't think the community was equal in every way. It simply meant that I hadn't understood the issue clearly enough. And I was discriminating against my own daughter by saying that her relationship was less than the relationship and marriage my wife and I had.
Is your daughter Lisa in a romantic relationship now?
Yes.
With whom?
With Megan.
And how long have you known Megan?
Known Megan for 2 or 3 years now.
And can you describe your relationship with her?
I love being with Megan. She's like a third daughter. She's just great to be around. She's smart, she's resourceful, she's energetic, she's hardworking. She's been an excellent partner for my daughter, and I love being around both of them. But Megan is like another piece of the family, and she has been.
Did Lisa and Megan ever become domestic partners?
They did.
Do you know when that was?
It was in July of 2009.
And do you know if they had a ceremony to celebrate their domestic partnership?
No, they didn't.
Did they tell you beforehand that they were going to become domestic partners?
No. No, I got a text from Lisa one day saying that they'd got the DP taken care of a couple of days ago. I texted her back saying, what in the world's a DP? And that's when I learned that they'd gone down to either the state or county, I'm still not sure, to get a domestic partnership paperwork filled out so that they could share benefits.
So you didn't go with them to register as domestic partners?
Well, you know, I don't think it's really an exciting thing to do. I mean, to go to the state or county building and watch somebody fill out forms.
Did Lisa and Megan send out announcements when they became domestic partners?
No.
Did anyone congratulate you on the fact that they had become domestic partners?
No.
Let me ask you, as Lisa's father, did you believe domestic partnership is sufficient for her?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Well, I believe my daughter deserves the same opportunity to have a wedding in front of family and friends and coworkers, and I believe she has, well, she should have the same opportunity to have that recognized lawfully. I believe that as a gay couple, they should have the same right as a heterosexual couple in marriage. I think we deserve, or she deserves, to have that.
Did Lisa and Megan ever get married?
They did. In December 2009, about a month ago.
Where did they get married?
They got married in Vermont. They went back to visit Megan's parents in upstate New York, and they felt strongly that they wanted some marriage certificate from some government acknowledging that they were a married couple. So they went to Vermont. Two of them went to the county courthouse in a city there. City clerk said, I'll have to find someone to marry you, a justice of the peace. He said, basically, we have a justice of the peace who has a funeral in the afternoon, but I think she can do a wedding in the morning. And they went over to her house. She was prepared for the funeral, but she didn't have her shoes on. So she married the two of them in her front room.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
How did you learn of it?
Lisa phoned me, told me they'd gotten married.
And how did that make you feel?
Made me feel pretty bad. I had to go across the country and be married in somebody's front room by somebody preparing to do a funeral, to be married without family or friends.
Did anyone congratulate you on your daughter getting married?
Yeah, a lot of people congratulated me. I believe Mr. Chandler congratulated me during the deposition. I appreciated Mr. Chandler's congratulations.
Has the marriage between Lisa and Megan harmed your marriage in any way?
I think that is what it's done to make my wife and I stronger. It's not harmed our marriage. It's not harmed anybody in our family's marriage. I don't believe it's harmed anybody in the world. I do think that Lisa and Megan have been an excellent example for us in persevering, loving each other, being willing to go to great lengths to show that.
Mr. Mayor, during the course of the Proposition 8 campaign, did you see any Yes on 8 campaign signs that made reference to protecting the children?
Yes, I did.
What did you see?
Well, I suppose I saw was what everybody else saw, you know, signs that said Yes on 8 and then showed little children, cutouts, paper dolls. You know, I'm not sure what the symbolism was involved, but that's what I saw.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, I couldn't imagine why anyone would think that children would be harmed by marriage. I mean, I couldn't imagine how Lisa and Megan could by any way harm anybody else. I couldn't imagine why children would have to be protected from my daughter, Lisa, who's one of the kindest and most compassionate people that I know. So that was the feeling I had. I have a loving daughter, kind, compassionate, and yet somehow society has to be protected. Children in society need to be protected from her.
Are Lisa and Megan planning to have children?
I don't know. But I would certainly like to be a grandfather.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Very well. Cross-examine, Mr. Raum.
Good morning, Mayor Sanders.
Good morning.
My name is Bryan Raum. It's nice to meet you. Mr. Mayor, you spent the first 26 years, or you spent 26 years of your career involved with the San Diego Police Department. Is that right?
That's correct.
And during that 26 years, you saw a decrease in the amount of discrimination within the department against gays and lesbians. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that's right.
And in fact, you made specific efforts to improve the department's relationship with the gay and lesbian community.
Yes, I did.
And the San Diego Police Department's relationship with the gay and lesbian community improved over time.
Yes, I believe it has.
And currently, you would acknowledge that the San Diego Police Department is supportive of the gay and lesbian community.
Well, I would say that they're fair in their treatment of the gay and lesbian community, as we are with treatment in every other community in San Diego.
Well, would you agree that, in a broad sense, generally speaking, that the San Diego government is more accepting of the gay and lesbian community today than it was in the past?
Yeah, I believe that it is more accepting, yes.
And the city has specifically trained and worked with its employees to make sure that they convey respect and dignity to the gay and lesbian community.
Well, we've worked to make sure that we have our employees convey dignity and respect to every community in San Diego, whether it's African American community, the Latino community, the Asian community, or the gay and lesbian community.
And there are several openly gay politicians in San Diego, is it fair to say?
No, I would say there are two on the city council, one in the state senate.
And Ms. Kehoe, she is in the state senate.
She's our senator.
Tony Atkins is on the city council.
No, she's not. She was on the previous council.
In fact, she termed out. That's why she's not on the council anymore?
Right.
What about Todd Gloria? Is that one of the other individuals you were referring to on the city council?
Todd Gloria is on the city council, yes.
And Carl DeMaio.
Carl DeMaio is on city council also.
So, out of the 8 current members, 2 of those members identify as gay.
Yes, they do.
You would say, as a whole, the city council is responsive to the needs of the gay and lesbian community, correct?
Well, I would say, as a whole, each city council member individually decides the issues that are important to that person and their community.
I'd like to draw your attention to tab 1, which is your deposition transcript dated January 5th, 2010. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And could you please turn to page 38?
Yes, sir.
Starting on line 22, you were asked, question, as a whole, do you think that the council is responsive to the needs of the gay and lesbian community?
I do, along with every other community.
And your answer was, I do.
I do.
Now, Bonnie DeManis.
Yes.
She serves as the district attorney for San Diego.
Yes, she is.
And she identifies as a lesbian.
Yes, she does.
And you've indicated that you've met a couple of state assembly members who also identify as gay. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you agree that the activists for the gay and lesbian community have been effective in some of their political efforts in San Diego?
Well, I don't know that those came because of activism. I only know of one issue that's really come before us, and that's been the gay marriage issue.
I'd like to draw your attention to page 41 of your deposition transcript. Starting with line 6, question, you talked earlier about some community activists in the gay and lesbian community that you know. Would you describe their efforts as being effective within the San Diego community? And your answer was, you know, I suppose on certain issues they have been effective. Certainly on some issues they haven't been. Do you remember saying that?
I do.
And would you agree that on certain issues that certain activists have been effective in their efforts to support the gay and lesbian community?
I'll go back to what I just said. There's only been one issue that's come before the council that was directly gay or lesbian related since I've been there, and that was this issue.
I see. What were you referring to in your deposition when you said that they have been effective on certain issues?
Well, I think that they represent a class of people, but I don't know of anybody. I mean, we don't provide health and human services in the city of San Diego. We're not a county. We don't provide funding for those services. So when I was talking about this, we've seen activism in the community, but really issues don't come in front of the city of San Diego. They would go in front of the county of San Diego because they do the funding for the HIV/AIDS program, for all of the other programs.
So you were referring to activists being effective at the county level. Is that what you were referring to?
Well, I'm talking about overall. I don't know how effective they are at the county. That's not within my area, but I think they've brought forward issues, or excuse me, on this issue. I know that they have brought forward issues at other levels on terms of health and human services.
Mm-hmm. And you indicated that in some respect they have been effective, in other respects that they haven't been effective. That's what you testified to earlier, is that correct?
That's correct.
Just like any other political group, some issues they are effective and some issues they are not.
Oh, we're not talking about politics here. We're talking about people who are trying to get health and human services.
Well, I'm asking you specifically about your testimony.
Well, what I guess I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's a political group.
I see. You are referring to activists as separate and apart from political groups.
I believe you just said as a political group.
Well, I'm asking you what you think. Do you think that the activists that you referred to in the deposition at page 41 are separate and apart from political groups?
I do.
You would agree that most of the organizations that you've been involved with that are generally supportive of the gay and lesbian community, correct?
No, I wouldn't.
You would not?
No.
Well, I'd like to draw your attention to page 45 of your deposition transcript. Starting at line 24, question, the other organizations that you've been involved with, either working for or on the board, have any of them not been supportive of the gay and lesbian community? Answer, I don't know that some of them serve or don't serve. I believe most of them, if asked, they are generally supportive. You stated that in your deposition, did you not?
I did.
Mayor Sanders, for 3 years you served as the chief executive officer of and the president of the United Way of San Diego. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And during that time, the United Way contributed funds to nonprofit organizations that worked with the gay and lesbian community, among other things.
We provided funding for a wide variety of health and human services throughout San Diego County.
Including services that helped every community, including the gay and lesbian community.
Including services that helped every community, including the gay and lesbian community.
Thank you. And you participated in the campaign against Proposition 8, correct?
Yes, I did.
In fact, you went to a couple of fundraisers in support of No on 8.
I did.
And you went to a few rallies in support of No on 8.
I did.
And in addition to yourself, there were other state and local politicians who campaigned against Proposition 8, correct?
I know of a couple. I don't know how many.
You would also agree that there were particular religious leaders who campaigned against Proposition 8.
Campaigned against Proposition 8?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know the name of those. I know there were a few religious leaders, very few.
Now, there was a time that you supported civil unions, as you previously testified, correct?
That's correct.
And that was your position when you were elected in 2005?
That's correct.
And during that campaign in 2005, you made specific efforts to reach out to the gay and lesbian community, correct?
Yes.
For example, you appeared in the San Diego gay pride parade.
Yes, I did.
In fact, you had done that approximately 10 times, correct?
Yes.
And during the 2005 campaign, you participated in 2 debates at the San Diego Gay Bisexual Community Center.
Yes.
And after you were elected, you appointed 3 openly gay individuals to your personal staff.
I did.
That was Fred Sains,
Fred Sains.
Jeff Gaddis,
Yes.
and George Biaggi.
Yes.
And you also, in 2006, selected an openly gay fire chief, a Tracy Jarman, correct?
I did.
And Ms. Jarman was unanimously approved by the City Council.
Yes.
And at that time, during 2005 and 2006, when you were a mayor, you respected the gay and lesbian community.
I respected every community.
Including the gay and lesbian community.
Including the gay and lesbian community.
And you seriously considered and attempted at least to address the needs of the gay and lesbian community.
In what way are you talking about?
Well, I'm asking, during your time as mayor, during 2005 and 2006, did you attempt to address the needs of the gay and lesbian community?
I attempted to address the needs of every community. We don't have a monolithic community. We have issues in every community, whether it's planning, whether it's housing, whether it's resources. I worked with every single community in San Diego and tried to address their needs.
And you were willing to consider the needs that were brought to you from the gay and lesbian community at that time, correct?
I'm sorry?
Well, were you willing to address the needs that were brought to you by the gay and lesbian community at that time in 2005 and 2006?
You know, I talked to individuals. I don't know there's a gay lesbian coalition. I met with individuals who may have been gay or lesbian who brought forward issues. But I was always willing to work on issues from any individuals who brought those in.
I would like to draw your attention to page 33 of your deposition transcript, starting on line 17. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Are you there? You were asked the question, so at that time, at the time you were elected in 2005, did you consider yourself an ally of the gay and lesbian community? Answer, I considered myself to be someone who I considered myself someone who respected the community. Question, and were you willing to consider the needs that they brought to you? Answer, yes. You made that. You gave that testimony, did you not?
I did.
Now, during that time, also, you had good friends from the gay and lesbian community, correct?
I'm sorry? I didn't understand the question.
Sure. During 2005 and 2006, you had good friends from the gay and lesbian community.
I do.
And in 2003, you had found out that your daughter, Lisa, identified as a lesbian.
Yes, I did.
And you weren't disappointed with that?
No. As a father, I was happy that she found somebody that she was close to and had a relationship. I think that's the way fathers feel.
You weren't upset in any way?
I was upset only from the perspective that I expressed earlier, that I was concerned about how tough it was going to be a gay or a lesbian in a relationship or to be open and out.
And you indicated that you were fine with it?
I was absolutely. I loved my daughter very much and respect her as an individual, and I love her. And whatever choice she makes is the one that I would be willing to support.
Fact is, you were comfortable with it. And your primary concern was that she was happy, right?
Right.
But at the same time, during that period, you supported civil unions as a reasonable alternative to same-sex marriage, correct?
I did.
And you don't think that that was a position that was hostile to the gay community, the gay and lesbian community, did you?
No, I didn't.
And your daughter, Lisa, understood your position, correct?
My daughter, Lisa, said she understood it, yes.
And despite the fact that you supported civil unions as a reasonable alternative to same-sex marriage, you don't believe that you communicated hatred to the gay and lesbian community, do you?
I don't believe... I feel like my thoughts were grounded in prejudice, but I don't believe I felt hatred. I don't believe that I communicated hatred. But in retrospect, I do believe it was grounded in prejudice.
Instead, you thought that civil unions were a fair and reasonable alternative to marriage.
At the time, yes.
And your belief that civil unions were a reasonable and fair alternative to same-sex marriage, it wasn't based on any moral disapproval of gays or lesbians, right?
No, no. As I said, it was grounded in prejudice from my perspective now.
And you indicated earlier that you thought that civil unions were a reasonable alternative because, at the time, at least, you believed that they were equal to marriage.
Yes.
And you believe that even today people can distinguish between civil unions and same-sex marriage on reasonable grounds that are not based in animus or ignorance.
I'm not sure what you mean by animus. I mean, would you help me out with that?
Yeah.
I consider animus.
Yeah. What do you mean by animus? I consider animus.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for legal conclusion.
Overruled.
Well, and you believe that reasonable people can disagree on the issue of civil unions versus same-sex marriage, and that disagreement is not necessarily based on animus or ignorance.
I believe it's not based on, it can be a situation where it's not based on animus. That doesn't mean that I don't believe it's grounded in prejudice.
And you believe that prejudice is when you treat a class of people differently, correct?
Yes.
Now, you also believe people voted in favor of Proposition 8 because they, like you in 2005, viewed civil unions as a fair and reasonable alternative to marriage, correct?
I don't believe that that's exactly what I said.
Well, let's look at what you said in your deposition. At page 68, starting in line 4. Question, okay, do you think it's possible that someone could...
I'm sorry, I'm not on the same... I've got, you said 58?
No, page 68.
Oh, okay.
Starting on line 4. You were asked, question, okay, do you think it's possible that someone could have voted in favor of Proposition 8 because they believed in civil unions were a fair alternative to marriage? You answered, I do believe some people did. Question, okay, let's step back for a minute. Did you participate in any way in campaigning for or against Proposition 8? Answer, yes. In what way did you participate? I participated trying to make sure that Proposition 8 was defeated. Now, in your participation in opposing Proposition 8, did you encounter people who believed that civil unions were a fair and reasonable alternative to same-sex marriage?
I believe I probably encountered some. And I still believe that their feelings were grounded in prejudice. I don't believe that they realized what they were saying. I don't see that makes them hate people. I don't think it makes them a bigot. But I think that what they're saying is that an entire class of people do not deserve the same relationship as a heterosexual couple.
But in 2005, you didn't hold that view, did you?
No, I didn't. I felt that civil unions were a responsible or a reasonable alternative.
And a big part of the base that you were relying on for your election in San Diego felt the civil unions were a reasonable alternative to same-sex marriage, correct?
I believe so. Some of them did, at least.
Well, you indicated that you thought a big part of the base believed that.
No, I believe a large part of the base did, yes.
And you would also agree that some people can be religiously opposed to same-sex marriage without having any hostility or animus towards gays or lesbians.
That's absolutely right. They don't have animus or hostility. That doesn't mean that decision is not grounded in prejudice, though.
And you would agree that there are people who have sincere religious beliefs on both sides of this debate, correct?
I do.
I would like to draw your attention to what's been marked as DIX 1475. It's at tab 3 in your binder. Did you find that?
Yes, I did.
And you recall having been shown this particular document at your deposition?
Briefly, yes.
Okay, and this document was written by Mr. Blankenhorn. Do you recall that?
I do.
Now, and you read this at the deposition. You were asked some questions about it, correct?
I was asked some questions. I don't know that I read it thoroughly. It was presented to me, and then I was asked questions.
Okay. Now, I represent to you that Mr. Blackenhorn, who is the author of this article, argues that defining marriage to include same-sex couples would undermine the purpose of ensuring that, insofar as possible, children would be raised by the man and woman whose sexual union brought them into the world. Do you recall that being the subject of this article?
Generally, yes.
Okay, and would you agree that it's possible that people voted for Proposition 8 based on the reasons that are articulated in this particular article?
Well, I believe that some people could say that. Once again, I believe that their feelings would be grounded in prejudice and obviously misinformation.
Because you disagree with the premise that's put forward in this particular article.
Well, it's not the premise. It's what we see in reality. Many children are not raised by biological parents. They're raised by one parent or another, or they are foster children. So, I mean, this is supposing that everybody had a marriage where both partners were there throughout the upbringing of the children, all through the child's life.
Well, this article puts forth the idea that, all things being equal, that the best case scenario for kids is to be raised by their biological mother and father. You disagree with that premise?
You know, I think all things equal, but I also was a cop for 26 years, and I know there are a lot of children who did not benefit from child abuse, from child neglect by biological parents. So I don't know that we can say all things being equal.
Okay. So you disagree with the premise that's being put forth by Mr. Blackenhorn?
I do.
Is DIX 1475N?
This is...
Is it in evidence?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. It was admitted into evidence on Thursday in connection with Dr. Cott.
Very well.
Professor Cott, I should say. Would you also agree that some people who voted in favor of Proposition 8 did so simply to preserve the historical tradition of marriage in this country?
I would believe that some people possibly voted that way. I don't really know. But once again, if they did, I would think that that would be grounded in prejudice.
And some people may have voted for Proposition 8 because they feel that marriage is tied to procreation. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that some people would say that. I don't really know the reasoning behind that.
And you agree that there are some reasons why people voted for and against Proposition 8?
I do.
And among these many reasons are reasons that are grounded in good faith beliefs in marriage between a man and a woman.
Well, I believe the good faith beliefs don't negate the fact that they are grounded in prejudice, which means that one group of people are being treated entirely differently simply because of their sexual orientation. Whether you have grounded belief or not, I don't think negates that.
Well, and I understand that that's your position. But nonetheless, you believe that certain people in good faith could disagree with that position that you've just articulated.
Well, I believe that some people could, but I can't interpret what they do.
In fact, you shared that sentiment at one time, did you not?
I proposed civil unions as being a reasonable alternative, and admitted earlier that that was grounded in prejudice.
But at that time that you believed it, you didn't think it was prejudice, did you?
No, I didn't.
Now, you're currently serving your second term as mayor of San Diego, right?
Yes, I am.
And you've been involved in at least 2 political campaigns running for mayor.
Yes, I have.
And you've also been involved in, to some degree, the Proposition 8 campaign.
Oh, very peripherally.
Well, you indicated that you attended rallies.
I think attending a couple of rallies or going to a couple of fundraisers is peripherally. I wasn't an advisor. I didn't participate in the campaign in any way.
I see. I would like to draw your attention to tab 4. This has been marked as DIX 2618. It's an article dated October 14th from the San Francisco Chronicle entitled "A Lesson in Political Naivete." Do you recall seeing this particular article at your deposition?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall this particular article recounts an event where first grade students were taken out of their class and brought to a lesbian wedding during school hours?
Well, as I recall, I mean, and I'm going to tell you, I read this very briefly when questioning occurred at the deposition, that the mayor conducting a wedding and a first grade class and teacher also attended.
And when you say the mayor, you were talking about Mayor Gavin Newsom, correct?
Yes.
And you know, you don't think that this particular event, in other words, taking a class of first grade students to a same-sex wedding, was a good public relations move for the No on 8 campaign, do you?
Well, I don't think the way that was portrayed was, no.
Because you think it was portrayed as in a way that didn't give the proper image to the sanctity of marriage, correct?
That's correct.
And you would agree that this event could have hurt the No on 8 campaigns, well, in its efforts to oppose Proposition 8, correct?
Well, I think the way it was presented could have been.
Now, you testified earlier about your support of what's been referred to as hate crimes legislation.
Yes.
And at the time that you indicated that today, when you testified, you indicated that crimes that are committed because of someone's race or sexual orientation should be given additional punishment, correct?
No, I didn't, and I didn't say that. I'm sorry, I didn't say that I supported hate crimes legislation. I said I was opposed to the hate crimes, and we worked very hard to eliminate those.
So you don't support hate crimes legislation?
I certainly do, but I didn't say that that earlier. Is what I'm saying.
Excuse me. And would you also agree that crimes should not be committed against individuals because of their religion, correct?
I would.
I'm sorry?
I would.
I'd like to draw your attention to Exhibit DIX 1107. It's a video that was produced by ProtectMarriage.com.
I'm going to object to this, Your Honor, on the grounds of I really don't understand what the relevance is of it.
Is this already in evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
The mayor testified to the fact that he absolutely opposes any kind of violence against individuals because of their particular race or sexual orientation. He also agrees that that would include crimes that are committed in connection with religion. And we'd like to just show him this particular video because he's indicated that he's watched particular advertisements in connection with the Prop 8 campaign and has been upset by certain things that ProtectMarriage.com put out. And this is one of the things that ProtectMarriage.com put out, and we would like to get his view on what's depicted in this particular video.
Is this a video that he's already seen?
Yes.
He has seen it?
Yes, he has seen it in his deposition.
I don't know if that's true, Your Honor.
I will represent to the court that he was played this in his deposition, and it's at page 87, line 12.
All right. All right, it appears to have been played at the deposition. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is this a video or is it an audio?
No, it's a video. It's just not coming up on the screen.
Let's back it up and play it again.
Your Honor, I'm going to renew the objection on the ground I don't know what the relevance is. And the witness only saw it at his deposition and at no other time.
Objection overruled.
Mayor Sanders, you would agree that it's wrong for people to suffer violence as a result of their political views, would you not?
I would.
And in fact, you would think that, well, you do think that violent behavior against someone who disagrees with your political position is not a politically effective strategy, correct?
Correct.
And you don't think that vandalizing property of someone who disagrees with your political position is an effective political strategy either, do you?
That's my personal belief, yes.
And would you advise people involved in a political campaign that they shouldn't steal campaign signs, right?
On both sides.
And you would advise the people involved with the No on 8 campaign not to engage in any violent behavior or intimidation against political opponents, correct?
I didn't advise either campaign.
Well, that wasn't my question. But you would have advised the No on 8 campaign people not to engage in any violent or intimidation against the supporters of Prop 8, correct?
I would have advised both groups not to do that.
And the reason that you would have advised against the use of violence or intimidation in connection with a political campaign is because you don't think that those are effective political strategies, correct?
I said personally that I am not a political scientist. I'm not a political consultant. I know you may consider me a politician after running twice, but I consider myself a cop. So I don't consider myself sophisticated enough to be able to tell what sells and what doesn't. I personally don't believe violence or stealing signs or any of that is effective either way.
You ran 2 campaigns.
I did.
And you had political consultants in connection with these campaigns.
And I hired them and paid them to make those types of political decisions.
And you learned a little bit during these campaigns, wouldn't you say?
I think I did.
And you were successful in those campaigns?
I was.
And you ran for re-election in 2008.
Yes, I did.
And at that time, you ran as a Republican.
I did.
And in 2008, you openly advocated against Proposition 8 and in favor of same-sex marriage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
During your re-election campaign, you again made specific efforts to reach out to the gay and lesbian community.
Well, I made specific efforts to reach out to every community in San Diego, yes.
Right, but my question is, you made specific efforts to reach out to the gay and lesbian community, including and among other communities.
Yes.
For instance, you spoke at the Log Cabin Republicans Convention, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And the Log Cabin Republicans is a national gay and lesbian organization, Republicans' grassroots political organization, correct?
Yes, they are. I'm sorry.
And during your re-election campaign, you had the approval and endorsement of this national Republican group, correct?
Well, I'm not sure that this didn't. Me speaking to them didn't come after the primary where I was elected. Now, I can't find a date on this, to be very honest with you.
I see. Now, you ran against 5 other candidates for mayor in 2008.
Yes, I did.
And that was during the primary.
Yes.
And during the primary, you received 54% of the total vote.
I suppose, approximately, yes.
And because of that strong support that you received during the primary, you didn't even have to run in a general election, did you?
Well, San Diegans re-elected me in the primary.
Well, would it be fair to say that your support of same-sex marriage in 2008 didn't cause you to lose the election as mayor?
Oh, it didn't cause me to lose it. I can't say it made it easy.
Now, your views on same-sex marriage have evolved substantially, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Since 2005.
Yes, they have.
And at this point, you believe the government should endorse and regulate same-sex marriage in the same way that it regulates marriage between a man and a woman.
You know, I believe that the government should allow every group of people to be married in exactly the same way and enjoy the same rights and privileges and recognize the marriage in the same way.
Well, there was a point in your political career, however, that you didn't think that government belonged in the marriage business at all. You believed that marriage, as an issue, should be left to the churches. Do you remember saying that?
I do.
And do you still believe that?
No.
When did you hold that view?
I believe I held that view as part of my ignorance on the whole issue when I first started out.
And you've been enlightened now. And you believe that the government should be in the marriage business, correct?
I believe that the government should allow everybody to get married in exactly the same way, not treating heterosexual couples different than treating gay and lesbian couples.
If the government decided to get out of the marriage business, do you think that that would be fair to all people?
I don't believe the government's going to get out of the marriage business. Now, if the government said we're no longer going to sanction marriage in any way, and it's up to individuals to decide that, then I suppose that would be fair to everybody involved.
Thank you.
Very well. Redirect.
Mayor Saunders, Mr. Rahm made mention of you marching in a number of pride parades, correct?
Yes.
Did you march or have you marched in any other parades during your tenure as police chief or mayor?
Yes. March in the Martin Luther King parade every year. March in the St. Patrick's Day parade. Certainly been in parades around Christmas in San Diego. 4th of July parades, the Veterans Day Parade. There are numerous parades that I'm part of every single year.
And he also asked you about 2 debates that apparently you attended at the center. Can you give us some example of other debates that you attended during the course of that 2005 election campaign?
Well, during the 2005 election campaign, I believe there were close to 75 different debates throughout San Diego and neighborhoods at television stations. It was a very heavy, debate-heavy mayor's election.
Mr. Mayor, have you ever made a decision based on fear of political repercussions from the gay community?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen any other policymakers in San Diego make a decision or cast a vote based on fear of political repercussions from the gay community?
No. In fact, I think it's easier to go the other way, especially in San Diego. I mean, it's easier to make a decision against the gay and lesbian community than it is to make it for them.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I think that political ramifications are much stronger from the Republican Party and from others.
How did the Republican Party react to your decision to support marriage equality?
They were very unhappy.
And how did they express that displeasure?
Well, they expressed that displeasure by, I was sitting Republican mayor. They expressed the displeasure by saying that they were considering withdrawing their endorsement. I had to go to several party meetings, talk to party members. I think it was a difficult issue. I think that what I also saw in the kickoff of the campaign, a lot of the people weren't there. And that was the very next night from the press conference that I held.
In your experience, has the Republican Party in San Diego been responsive to the needs of the gay and lesbian community?
Well, I don't think it's first and foremost in their minds.
Why do you say that?
Well, I think that their national platform and local platform says that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Mr. Rahm made mention of the Log Cabin Republicans. Are you aware of how large the Log Cabin Republican chapter is in San Diego?
Well, I spoke to them during one of the election cycles, and there were 4 members.
Do the Log Cabin Republicans have any influence in the broader Republican Party in San Diego?
No, I would say they don't.
Mr. Rahm had you watch a video, DIX 1107. Do you have any reason to believe that what was represented in that video was true and actually happened?
Well, I have absolutely no idea. I was just shown a video that was produced by a campaign, and then I'm supposed to believe everything that's in it. I don't have any grounding in that. I didn't hear those instances. I didn't see those instances. My wife and I do not watch television. We do not watch television news. We've not watched it for years, and I didn't see any campaign ads on either side. So, when I said that I saw a campaign sign that portrayed little children, I'm talking about a bumper sticker or a sign. So, I'd have no idea if these things occurred or if they didn't on either side.
Do you have any knowledge or experience with any no on Proposition 8 signs being vandalized?
Well, I have personal experience where somebody wrote on chalk in front of my house because we had a no on 8 sign out. It said, God's law, vote yes on 8. Now, I don't believe we were the only household. I walk in the mornings before people are out, and I saw those on sidewalks where Proposition no on 8 proposition signs were out.
And this was in your neighborhood?
Yeah. I'd like to clear up one thing, though. I do watch the Charger and the Padres games. Periodically. That's the only television I really watch.
Well, I think you could have brought a little more luck to them on Sunday, Mr. Mayor. Your Honor, I just want to offer one thing. a note was passed that DIX 1475 was not admitted into evidence. It was only judicially noted.
Your Honor, my understanding is when something is usually noted, it becomes part of...
There is a difference. All right, thank you for pointing it out. 1475, subject to judicial notice. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in your experience, can you think of a group of Americans that has faced stronger political opposition in recent years than the gay and lesbian community?
No, I can't.
Why is that?
Well, I believe it's been okay to discriminate against gays and lesbians. I think it's been okay to not offer them the same rights and responsibilities until just very recently. I still think people think it's okay for them to judge that their relationships, that their love for each other is different, is somehow less than the love or relationship that a heterosexual couple has. And I think that's manifested most prominently in the fact that there are not a lot of, that we're not allowed to get married in the state of California. And I believe what's being said is, we don't think that you folks have the same type of relationship, or that you love each other as much, or we're not going to allow you to be married.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Very well, Mr. Herrera. Oh, and I trust that you will
I take your guidance.
go through those depositions. I noticed some of the same problems in this deposition of this witness. I think your office needs a little counseling on that subject, on how to defend and take depositions.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanders. You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.